Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Not all superheroes meticulously plot their victories all the time. Sometimes they get lucky, and they win the day by accident, simply out of desperation and through trying something they never really thought would be as effective as it was, or through simply watching as the villain they were fighting fumbled their plot all by themselves. Today we're going to look at some of these hilarious and shocking comic book moments as we count down the top 10 superheroes who won by accident. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Batman. For all of Batman's skills, there are times that he gets lucky when it comes to his victories in the comics, the animated series, and in television and films. Like that time that he defeated the Calendar Man's riddle about the 4th season, solving Calendar Man's true identity simply because he happened to notice an ad for a magician playing a show at a theater in Gotham who was in town for the exact same time as the crimes had been happening. Amazing detective work or sheer luck? But beyond that incident, there is one villain that Batman has beat both on purpose and accidentally countless times: the Joker. It's the Joker's need for Batman and his kind of low-key love and obsession with Batman that sometimes allows the Dark Knight to win against the villain by accident. Unfortunately, this is a two-way street, and just as the Joker can't seem to bring himself to really end Batman, Batman can't really seem to bring himself to end Joker either, though he does manage to at least lock him up pretty often. But he always escapes. He always escapes. Number 9. Spider-Man 2099. Miguel O'Hara was actually working on recreating the original Spider-Man's abilities in test subjects during his work for Alchemax. Miguel isn't a great dude to begin with in the 2099 universe. He's arrogant and kind of self-serving. Despite this, he does feel bad when a test subject dies as a result of his experimentation, and he asks to resign. However, his request is refused, and Miguel is even threatened with blackmail. He attempts to remove a drug from his genetic code, which the company attempted to leverage his usage of against him as blackmail. While rewriting his DNA, however, a rival coworker messes with the process, instead splicing Miguel's DNA with that of a spider. As a result, he accidentally gets the powers he was working so hard to give others, and in doing so, accidentally becomes a hero on a path to become a better person. Oops, but also yay! Number 8. Hulk. In the Hulk vs. animated film, one of the stories we are told involved Hulk going up against Loki, who is attempting to use the hero to get back at his brother. Surprise, surprise. Loki's plan is to eject Bruce Banner from the driver's seat of the Hulk, splitting the two characters from one another with Enchantress's help, and then take control of the Hulk's brute strength himself. Enchantress is looking to get back at Thor for choosing Sif over her, so she's willing to help him out. Unfortunately, their plan goes awry when the Hulk can't be contained due to him simply being nothing but unbridled rage without Banner at the wheel. The Hulk threatens to destroy Asgard, and Enchantress is forced to merge the Hulk and Bruce back together to allow Bruce to save the day by regaining control. In other words, this day was accidentally won by the heroes simply because the villains had such an awful plan. They really didn't think that through, did they? They're like, we'll just split them, it'll be fine. Loki will be able to control him. Hulk's like resistant to mind control, so bad idea. Not that it means that he's not impervious to it. He can be mind controlled, just really hard. Anyways. Number 7. Red Sonja. In Dynamite's Queen of Plagues story arc, Red Sonja ends up crossing paths with the former King Basrat, who once enslaved her and had her fighting as a gladiator for his entertainment. Basrat ended up disappearing after he was usurped, but it turns out that despite lying low, he was actually busy plotting his revenge. He used a poison created to mimic plague symptoms to kill off all of those who would oppose him, and rallied troops to secretly work for him under the guise of those helping to expunge the land of the plague by killing those who were infected. Red Sonja ended up working alongside her sword and gladiatorial sister Anicia to defeat Basrat, but in the end it was not their strength, skill, and wits that killed him, but actually a woman who he had enslaved after killing her husband, who was tasked with warming his bedchamber and pouring his wine. Probably not a good idea to let that woman pour your wine after, you killed her husband and kind of turned her into a sex slave. And especially when you have so much poison lying around. It's just, you're kind of asking to be killed. Number 6. Spider-Man. Some Spider-Man villains are so ridiculous that they basically defeat themselves, leaving Spidey to look good and kind of be slightly surprised at how awful they were at crime. In fact, Peter Parker spends a good amount of his time as a hero trying to save those who are so bad at being a villain that they actually need his help to ensure that they just don't hurt themselves. One such villain is known as Big Wheel. During one of his first fights with Spidey, he was so unpracticed at using his giant wheel device meant for crushing his enemies that he accidentally fell off a roof while trying to steer it and drowned himself in the river. He would come back, but he took a pretty big hit to his ego, I'm sure. It's pretty embarrassing. Spider-Man was like, I guess he's dead, I tried to save him. But he was fine. He's cool. Number 5. Superman. In Action Comics Volume 1, Issue 870, Superman is doing everything he can to defeat Brainiac and save Kandor while trapped in Brainiac's spaceship, but seems to be struggling a lot, until he stumbles upon one of Brainiac's weaknesses, or former weaknesses anyways. Superman tells Brainiac that you can't just keep life bottled up, and that Brainiac knows nothing of life, kicking him through the walls of his spaceship and out onto Earth, where they were at the time. Brainiac falls into a pretty muddy looking marsh, terrified. Earth's bacteria, and probably an insane case of agoraphobia, get to Brainiac, as it's true what Superman says, he can't control everything outside, which is likely terrifying for the villain, and ends up getting to Brainiac, causing him to be defeated. Unfortunately, not defeating him quite fast enough though. Brainiac still manages to send missiles to Clark Kent's adoptive parents' farm, threatening to kill them. Superman manages to save Kandor and stop the missiles from hitting the farm, but his adoptive father suffers a pretty bad heart attack and dies. But still, he won the day, but it was still sad. You can't win 100% of everything all the time. Even if you're Superman, oh my goodness. Revelations. Number 4. Wonder Man and the Avengers. When Dr. Doom took control of the Purple Man's powers by entrapping him in the Psycho Prism in Marvel Graphic Novel Volume 1, Issue 27, it was Wonder Man who challenged the now Emperor Doom. The crazy thing is, Doom proved to be a pretty good ruler actually. Everything was peaceful and plentiful on Earth under his reign, which also made Doom himself kind of bored. He didn't really feel as accomplished as he'd like because he had no one to challenge him. When the Avengers started being freed of his mind control by Wonder Man, he seemed more intrigued than anything, even happy. The Avengers ended up breaking through and Namor ended up destroying the Psycho Prism, but even before this, Dr. Doom was just kinda resigned to be defeated. He's like, I guess we'll just see what happens. I'm gonna let the fates decide. I don't know. Leaving the Avengers to wonder why it had been so easy basically just walking into Doom's lair to find that they had already won. This accident could simply be attributed to the fact that Doom just wanted to lose. He got bored and so the Avengers got lucky. Or not lucky. As I said, Dr. Doom was like a really good ruler. Like, no free will, but worldwide peace and the economy was booming? I don't know. Is it worth trading free will for that? Y'all tell me in the comments, I don't know. It's tough. Number 3. Squirrel Girl. During the events of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Doreen and her friends come up against the villainous Melissa Morbeck. In fact, at one point it looks like they're about to all be destroyed and lose, until we learn that another deed of Doreen's has ended up accidentally saving the day. Galactus shows up and saves her and her friends. Why? Because to everyone's surprise, the cosmic being is actually a really good friend of Squirrel Girl's. Say what? While Doreen doesn't really make friends by accident, it doesn't seem to be intentional either. She's just kind of one of those really likable characters in the Marvel Universe. You could even say it's a coincidental and often convenient superpower of hers. Number 2. Frogman. Frogman may be one of the most annoying heroes for others to team up with, but he still manages to be surprisingly, and sometimes accidentally, useful. And he isn't at least the most annoying for other supers to fight with. Deadpool often seems to take the trophy home for that one in the comics. Poor Wade, no one wants to fight with him. Sad, sad, sad. But Frogman is a close second. He teams up with the Avengers in the story Spider Island Avengers to take down Flag Smasher and members of Ultimatum, who possess Spider-Man-like powers. After giving Miss Marvel and everyone else a headache while fawning over them and doing his best to help, he ends up winning the day by taking out Flag Smasher when he accidentally throws up on him, just as he threatens to take out Hawkeye. Miss Marvel throws the fatal punch, but still, she wouldn't have even been able to do that probably if not for Frogman's distraction. There you go, sometimes you can win the day by throwing up. Sometimes. Number 1. Harry Potter. So despite the long journey that he was on, and all the years Harry spent going up against Voldemort, at the end of the films and the books, he decided to ride all that work on just one single battle, by going out to Lord Voldemort unaccompanied. While brave, it was also kind of ridiculous. Harry did it to spare everyone, of course, from continuing to die in the battle at Hogwarts. I know. But that also shows a pretty big disregard for all of those who already gave their lives to defeat he who must not be named. They still haven't destroyed all the Horcruxes at this point either, which Voldemort can use to be resurrected, so Harry is taking a pretty big chance in the sense that even if he manages to kill Voldemort, which he doesn't really expect to, he could just be resurrected and he could come back. Luckily, Voldemort does manage to kill Harry, and in so doing destroys the final Horcrux he accidentally made when killing Harry's mother and giving him that fateful scar, a symbol of their bond and the Horcrux that lived within the young wizard. Because of this, Harry manages to survive his brush with death, and Voldemort ends up dead instead. Such a magical stroke of luck. How convenient. Thank you for that great— actually that was a really good twist when I read it in the books. I'm not even gonna make fun of it. J.K. Rowling, you got me. I don't know. You're crazy, but I love you. Thanks so much for watching, Nerd Squad. If you like reading about surprising and accidental comic book victories and fantasy victories as much as we enjoy sharing them with you, be sure to give this video a like. Who are some of your favorite luckiest heroes? Who do you think is the luckiest hero out there? Which supervillain do you feel self-sabotages themselves the most? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our future videos, Top 10 Omega level mutants who went too far. Wayne Wyant comments, and for this list, Miss McKnight levels up to Goth Queen. Yep. When I personally go Omega, I just go Goth. My purest and most powerful form. Lucario Pokemon says, Amanda kinda looks like Madeline Pryor. I feel that. I really love some Madeline Pryor. She's on my list of cosplays to actually do this year, coming up, 2020. I'm gonna just Goblin Queen it all up. Maybe in latex, stay tuned. And that's all the time we have for comments today. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you as always to stay nerdy, YouTube.